Thank God for the opportunity to be back here. This is a true blessing when you get to the NCAA tournament. I don't take anything for granted. Thankful.
All right, again, raise your hand for microphone.
Penny, this is your third tournament. What can you take from the first two tournaments preparing for this tournament?
Yeah, I think the first time we came with Jalen Duran and that team, we were just off winning the conference tournament, and we were like, okay, we got Boise, and we were familiar with Boise because of the NIT, and like, okay, it's gonna be a tough game because I respect, that conference and those teams. And we got here, and it was just a blur. We beat Boise, we lost to Gonzaga, who was the #1 overall seed, and then we went home. The second time going to Columbus, I didn't watch FAU all year. I just saw them playing really well in Conference USA. I might not have been as prepared as I should have been because it's a quick turnaround, and you have to be prepared for those guys, even though we prepared in a couple of days. But at the end of the day, both of those times, I felt like it was a blur. I'm taking it all in now, understanding how this works. You still have to play the game and have some luck without having injuries, but it's a much more calmer this time around.
Again, questions, go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Lindsay Schnell with The Athletic. Penny, you've obviously been around a lot of great players and you've coached other great players. I'm curious how PJ has made you a better coach and or a different coach. Yeah, that's a great question. PJ Hagerty has made me a great coach because a lot of his God-given ability comes into play a lot out there on the court that he takes over a game. That's not on me. That's his God-given ability. Putting him in position is all I have to do. And he takes it from there. That's how he's made me a better coach because no matter what any coach says, and a lot of coaches do say this, that you're only as good as your players. You have good players, you're going to look great, and he's made me look great because of that reason.
Penny, Jeff Hawkins from the Daily Lincoln. I gather you're going to meet Macy today or see her again with the bracelet.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. What does that mean to you?
I am looking forward to that again because it won't be in such a somber spirit like after we lost at Temple. I was kind of down, and she really lifted my spirits. And now meeting her for the second time, understanding what's happened is pretty cool, and it's a feel-good story.
Lindsay, go ahead. The microphone. Oh, go ahead, Nico.
Nico Tamori, Global News here in Seattle. Penny, obviously, you get this question probably a lot of games you go to, but your memories of playing here in Seattle against the Sonics, and what's the NBA missing by not having the city of the league right now?
Yeah, it was always tough because Coach Carl's teams, that's when they were in their prime with Gary and Sean and those guys, Nate McMillan, and it was always tough to come to Seattle and play the Sonics, and the fan base was really the sixth man, right? It was like not only were they tough, but it always got so loud, and it's unfortunate that there's not a franchise here because this city was so good for our league.
Penny, I'm going to follow up on the question I asked you about PJ. When you have a player like that, like you said, like your job is just to get him the ball, but in the off season, are you having to study like we got to figure out other ways to get him the ball? Like how is he pushing you to do things differently ever?
Yeah.
So creative.
Yeah, I've had multiple conversations with him about what he likes in the game because it's all about his comfort, his comfort state, not making him shoot tough shots when he doesn't have to shoot tough shots. And I have to do the job, again, by making it easier for him to get catches where there aren't two people already in the area, that we can have some misdirection work and do that, and then he'll take it from there.
Questions, go ahead.
Penny, Doug Kirschbaum, Associated Press. You talked about having such a short time to prepare with this turnaround. How is that compounded when you're dealing with injuries, lamb stuff up in the air? How does that make it harder?
I think because we took care of business in the conference tournament, that we prepared ourselves much more to be ready to adapt to anything because we had a week off before we played. So now the short turnaround, even though we knew when we were playing Colorado State, we really had a lot of time to put in a lot of stuff because we had already worked on ourselves. Usually it's working on us and then the other team. We worked on a ton of things that we knew we were going to need for the tournament, not knowing who we were going to play. So we did get a lot of work on Colorado State, which helps because you have to understand who they are.
Adrian Braxton, MC24, kind of twofold. When you say you have to understand who they are, assuming you Colorado State,
Yep.
what does that mean? And then second question, obviously you guys had so much to overcome from last season and how that went down.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like where the edge was in winning the conference tournament, things like that. Now that you're here here in the NCAA tournament again. Obviously, the goal is to win, but where does the edge come from now? Has there been bulletin board material?
Yeah, I think when I say you have to know who Colorado State is, they're a well-oiled machine, and they have so many options on these different motions that they run. We've ran the offense before, so we're familiar, but they do some really nice things in their offense, and it's not an everyday team that you play that has all these different actions and motions, so you need the time. And we put the time in. Again, we're familiar enough with the offense, but they have such dynamic players that you have to, get that ingrained into your guys' heads that this is a totally different game that we played all year. And me and my staff have been doing a good job of that. Even though we still have to play the game, we should be prepared for what they're going to do. And the edge is just wanting to be the best. We've seen this happen so many times over the years, the NCAA tournament and even the rankings of teams. We want Memphis to be mentioned in the same breath as all the top teams around the country, and that's the edge that we play with. And then these guys also want to leave a legacy. They want to do things that other teams on our team, other teams in the past haven't done.
Greg, go ahead.
Greg Bell, News Tribune here locally. Coach, what kind of support, leadership you got from Dr. Ed Scott, your new athletic director, since he came on board and jumped right in?
Did Ed ask you to ask me that question? Did he tell you? He didn't?
I'll put it on his tab.
Okay, all right. But no, Ed has been phenomenal. He and his staff came in and made it a 50-50 thing. I'll do what I'm supposed to do if you do what you're supposed to do. And it's been more of a friendship while working. We also we respect one another, but it's been easy for us to work together because we both want the same thing. And with this being his first year, with me coming off a really bad year coming into this year and being successful, it's worked even better because we were winning. But at the same time, he's been there as a rock for me and assured me of having my back and making sure that he was going to do his part, and he's done everything he said that he was going to do.
We know what Dane and PJ Hagerty will do on a daily basis, but how do you make sure PJ Carter and Baraka, stay within their lane, try to do too much in their extended roles?
Yeah, I think that you can only say just don't let the moment overwhelm you. And that's easy for me to say because in the NCAA tournament, you have this nervous energy that attacks guys, right? And sometimes you might think that you need to do more, but less is more, if that makes sense. You just have to go out and just play the game the way that we have it lined up, stick to the game plan, and everything else will be fine.
Do you have an update on Tyrese or Dr. Harris?
I don't have one on Tyrese, but Dante is starting to run. Don't know if he's going to play tomorrow, but he started running yesterday. No, 2 days ago.
Have you ever played one-on-one in practice?
No, I'm way past my years on that. I just try to be a mentor. I wish I could play him one-on-one. I was in my prime. I'll joke with him about that, but the thing that I try to do is just continue to breathe that confidence in him and let him know what's coming because he can't foresee the things that I've already seen and know that's coming. And that's pretty much what we do. But we shooting, yes, but not one-on-one.
In your prime, would you have beat him one-on-one?
Oh, yeah, easy. Easy. He knows that.
All right, I think we have more. Anyone in here? We do have a question from the Zoom. Jason Munns, I'll unmute you and go right ahead, please.
Jason Munns, Commercial Appeal. What do you, as you've been looking at the matchup with Colorado State, what do you see as far as the front court matchup, specifically the front court matchup? Like, how do you see that playing out? Do you feel like you guys might have an advantage there? Well, obviously we have Musa and Dane who are, really good bigs, and they have really good bigs because their system, they're smaller, but they're tough. They play the game the right way. They're going to make everything very difficult on you. So we're going to go in the game tomorrow and do what we do, whether it's throwing it inside or whether it's our guards doing what they do. And then we're not going to adapt or adjust to them from our point of view. Dane and Musa will get the ball inside, and then we'll see what they do. You'd like to say, Dane being larger and Musa being larger, that we have a height advantage and we can try to take advantage of some things, but you have to see how the flow of the game is working, and that's how we're approaching it.
Coach, you mentioned Boise and had played them in the NIT. You played this team in the NIT. I think Cisse is the only player that was on the floor for both teams. But Medved was the coach. How much has that helped in this preparation?
It's helped, but he's changed a lot of things since then. You know, every great coach is going to evolve, and he's evolved with his offense, and he's gotten better talent, even though he had some great guards. And he's put this team together very well. They all mirror one another in what they do. They bring different things, but they're all great at what they do, and they mesh that together. So I do understand his mindset. He's a brilliant basketball mind, and I admire what he does, because it's just, if you're a basketball guy, you see what he does and go, wow, that's pretty cool how he added that wrinkle, or how he took this option and made it this option. And pretty much everything he does, he has a counter to it. So if you're playing one way, he'll counter it, and you just have to know that. And it does help understanding that, but he's gotten better with his offense and the things that he's added over the years.
We'll go back to the Zoom for Jason. Jason, go ahead when you're ready.
Hey, Coach, what do you think of Tony Madlock's bunch the other night? Did you get a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I did. I watched it. It was pretty cool because, I mean, just making the NCAA tournament was history. And to get a win on top of that, you know, we're proud of our brother. You know, me and Tim Duncan talk about it all the time. We all come from the same soil, man, in Memphis, and we all had dreams and wanted to achieve certain things. And to see it happening live at Alabama State with Tony and that's just a blessing. That's all God, because we couldn't have dreamt this. We wanted this for one another, where we are now and where he is. But you can't dream this stuff up, man. It's pretty good. That's what March Madness is all about.
All right, any more questions, either here or in person or on the Zoom? All right, not seeing any, so we'll say thank you, Coach.
Thank you.